Hello and welcome to Jessie Book Club. Today we are continuing our alternative history series with Anne Boleyn and the Pardoned Queen. It doesn't take a lot of imagination to see where this is going, but plug in because I have written it yet again in the style of Philippa Gregory. So let's see how Anne gets on when she's pardoned. The Pardoned Queen. Anne Boleyn felt cold hands squeeze her heart as she heard the bell toll 9. It was the signal for her execution. She had been sentenced to death by her husband, King Henry, who wanted to get rid of her and marry plain Jane Seymour. He had accused her of treason, adultery, witchcraft, all lies and fabrications. She had loved him in her way, and she had borne him a daughter, Elizabeth, and her poor son Edward, who was gone too soon, and she had hoped with all her heart to bear him more sons, who would have lived. She had been a faithful, loyal, devoted wife. She had been a reformer, a patron, a leader when it came to stomping out corruption in the church. But she couldn't believe her enemies would do this to her, even now, walking to the scaffold. She was wearing a simple grey gown. She was escorted by 2 ladies and 4 guards to Tower Green, where the scaffold had been erected. She saw the crowd of people, some of them curious, some of them sympathetic, some of them hostile. She saw the executioner, but no sword. She saw the straw, the cushion, the block, and felt numb. A shiver of fear rose down her spine. But she also had courage. She was innocent. She knew it. She had nothing to regret, nothing to confess. She would make a good death, and soon she would be in heaven with George. She reached the scaffold and climbed the steps. She addressed the crowd and said, "Good Christian people, I have come hither to die, for according to the law and by the law I am judged to die, and therefore I will speak nothing against it. I am come hither to accuse no man, nor speak anything against. Therefore off I am accused and condemned to die. But I pray God save the king and send him long to reign over you, for a gentler nor merciful prince there never was, and to me he was ever good and gentle sovereign lord. And if any person will meddle in my cause, I require them to judge the best, and thus take my leave of the world and of you all. I heartily desire you all to pray for me. O Lord, have mercy on me. To God I commend my soul." And at that she realized she had spoken her last words. She knelt and repeated to herself, "To Jesus Christ I commend my soul. Lord Jesus, receive my soul." And there was a pause. It was too long. She couldn't stay brave forever. She heard the executioner say, "The King's grace has granted your request." She closed her eyes and waited for the stroke. This had to be a dream. Then she heard the executioner's voice loud and clear, "Madam, you are pardoned." She opened her eyes. She couldn't believe her ears. She was pardoned. She was alive. She felt a surge of joy and gratitude fill her chest. She lifted her head and looked at the man who had spoken the words. He smiled at her. "The king has changed his mind. He has decided to spare your life and send you to a nunnery instead. He has also annulled your marriage and declared your daughter Elizabeth illegitimate. He has this day married Queen Jane Seymour and hopes soon for a son." Anne felt a stab of pain, anger, and betrayal in her heart. He had annulled their marriage. He had fought 7 long years for. He had declared their daughter Elizabeth illegitimate. He had married Jane, and he had hopes for a son. But how could he do this to her? How could he do this to their daughter? How could he be so fickle? But was she not the woman who had taught him how to be cruel? At least she was alive. Swallowing, she realized she had no choice. She knew she must accept the decision or face the headsman once again. She would thank him for sparing her life. She would go to the nunnery and live in silence for the rest of her days, if that is what he wished. She would try and forget everything he had given her, but she was alive, and she would keep her ears open and do her best from afar to keep Elizabeth safe. She realized she was still kneeling in the straw and stood and curtsied to the executioner. "I thank you for your mercy," she said, and turned to the crowd. "I thank the King's grace for his clemency. I ask you all to pray for him and for his new queen." After a pause, she added, "I also ask you to pray for me and my daughter." She turned to the man beside her, the guard, and said, in a calm voice, "Please take me to the nunnery." She walked down the steps from the scaffold, following the guard. She saw the crowd dispersing, some of them jeering, some of them cheering, some of them murmuring. She saw the executioner putting away his sword. She saw the straw and the cushion, and without realizing it, there were tears rolling down her cheeks. It was her last day as queen, her last day as a lady, but she was still alive, and perhaps in time she would become an abbess. She would behave and not die alone like Catherine had. All of a sudden, for the first time in years, she felt sorry for her old mistress. But she would never be that stubborn. She would be the most happy nun in England, even if it killed her. That is the end of part 3 of our alternative history series. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know what I'm going to do next time. I think maybe, just maybe, I'll do Anne's first day as a nun. Not sure. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you do, make sure and check out my other alternative history stuff. I also have multiple videos reviewing Philippa Gregory and Alison Weir books. You can follow me on Instagram as well, at Lady Jessica Riddell. Until next time, be the most happy nun. Bye!